Okay, good afternoon traders, and today it is Monday, bank holiday, and it's the 2nd of May, and it's just gone 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, a few minutes late, a few things that have come up, but I'm going to try and do a really good TA update just to set us straight for the next rest of the week, as this is an important week. So in fact, let me start with that. The reason why it's an important week, let me just show you, is that this is a calendar, it's a Forex calendar. Basically, we've got quite a few. The ones in red are usually high impact, but this is more related to New Zealand and Australian dollars here. We've got the cash rates, everything else. But on Wednesday here, on the 4th of May, we've got a few things happening after 7 p.m. And this is basically the FOMC statement, the federal funds rate, which is confirmation or denial of the hike rates for the interest rates, and then we've got the press conference as well with questions and answers. So this is all after 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May the 4th. Okay, so this is likely to cause quite a lot of volatility in the markets, and I expect the price to be very volatile around that area. Okay. It could go either way, but I'll get to that in just a second. Okay, either way, this is going to be very volatile, and I'm not interested in trading in these hours just because there's whipsaws that go up and down, and it will, it'll very likely sort of kick you out of your trade, even if it's in the right direction, even if you had the right trade, just because there's going to be the market makers withdraw liquidity from the books. So obviously it's going to be a lot more volatile. An increase in volume means that there's whipsaws to both sides. So just make of that what you will, but I'd be very careful trading on Wednesday afternoon, especially leading up to this FOMC meeting. For the rest of the week, we've also got some things here going on in Britain. So namely the Bank of England monetary policy report, and then the monetary policy summary, the official bank rate, and also at 1:30 p.m. on Thursday we've got the unemployment claims here for the US around about 1:30 p.m. in UTC times. Okay, and then of course we've also got the average hour earnings. We've got the non-farm employment change and unemployment rate as well on Friday. So all in all, this is going to be a crazy week. Okay, so I expect some volatility coming into the middle of the week, so in the next couple of days or so. But for today and tomorrow, I think that we can start sort of like, you can scalp back and forth or whatever, but I'd be very careful of having any positions open during the week, going on from Wednesday, as I can, as I've just shown you. So basically, let's start with the month here. The monthly candle for last month, for April, is dreadful, both on the S&P and on the Nasdaq. And let me just put that on the Nasdaq here. So as you can see here, I mean, it's just, the Nasdaq is just a huge engulfing candle all the way down here, as you can see here on the right hand side. And then also for the S&P, you can see there's a massive engulfing candle to the downside here as well. And there's continuation. Okay, so the price does want to continue to reach lower. All right, so what I'm seeing right now on the S&P, I will show you in just a second, but on the smaller time frames. But I just wanted to illustrate that as well, because everybody's complaining about the monthly candle on Bitcoin, which you can see here, the month of April. Yes, it's an engulfing candle, but it's nothing compared to this, right? So I mean, of course, they're closely correlated. Bitcoin is very much just a leveraged beta version of the S&P these days. But I just wanted to illustrate that because it seems like everybody's losing their mind that we're going to zero now. We're going to 20k or whatever because of that monthly candle. And even though it's ugly, it's not as ugly as these ones. Okay, so make of that what you will. Moving on to the S&P. Okay, so the S&P is the blue line that you can see here, and the orange line is Bitcoin, of course. And you can see really the correlation is just, it's just so close, right? So it's very closely correlated still. I expect it will continue to be so. And so, I will keep an eye on this and let you know if it has decoupled at any one point. But this is much more obvious on the shorter time frames, such as the hourly and the 4 hour, but on the daily is not as closely correlated. Okay, so obviously there are variants, there's a lot of fundamental news and stuff that change the price of the Nasdaq, but when you look at the shorter time frames, it's very, very close. Okay, so eventually on the higher time frames it will sort of correlate as well, but because this is leveraged, you know, Bitcoin is leveraged, then of course there are some significant differences in that. As you can see here, the S&P is now dumping, Bitcoin is dumping too, but it's kind of lagging behind. It's still printing higher lows, whilst the S&P continues to print lower lows. So you can see that it kind of like catches up eventually, as you can see from previous price action. But the point here is that it's still very closely correlated. Okay, so with that in mind, it's really silly to think that Bitcoin is going to be immune to any changes of the interest rates on the S&P. Okay, so let's close that and let's go on to the S&P. And you can see here, this is the daily chart. Now, as you can imagine, everybody was bearish as soon as we kind of lost this level here, and then came all the way down to the 2021 VWAP. We kind of rallied again to the second standard deviation of the current yearly VWAP 2022, and then we kind of fall, and we broke all of the key levels, right? So you can see here, we had this level here. So the plus one standard deviation here, the value area high of 2021, okay, we lost that, right, namely here. Okay, then we lost this year's VWAP round about here. Let me just delete that a second. Okay, so we lost that, we lost the current year's VWAP, then we lost the value area low of the current year, and then we also lost this line here with the 2021 VWAP here. Okay, so it's looking really, really bearish. So it's not surprising that everybody and their neighbors are short right now on the S&P. Okay, but I wanted to show you something else. What we've got here, as you can see, is a low volume area, and these, as we know, act as support until proven otherwise. All right, so we're very close to that. Okay, we're very close to reaching that level, which is somewhere between 4,000 and 4,060. Okay, so is it possible that we come all the way down here, we start ranging down here, and then the FOMC meeting means that we rally? I mean, in my opinion, yes, because the expectancy is a 50 to 75 basis points interest rate hike going into June, right? So because everybody's expecting that, the market has priced it in, and the market's priced in a really bearish kind of outlook on things, right? So basically all that the Federal Reserve has to do is give a not so bearish outlook, and the markets will respond accordingly. And in this case, because it's been pricing in a terrible outcome such as 75 basis points, where it's only been announced 50, you know, another 0.25%, that means that basically, not a 0.25%, sorry, another 25% or whatever. That means that basically the markets have already priced in the 75 basis points. Okay, this is why we've kind of overreacted here with the price, I believe, because everybody knew there was going to be 50 basis points anyway. When they announced that, however, the markets reacted negatively, which means that they're already pricing a higher hike. Okay, so expectancy is what we pay attention to, and if everybody is expecting lower prices, and we're very close to an area of support, like I said here, what do you think it's likely to happen? Well, in my personal opinion, is that the laggards, the people that have, the late shorters, if you like, are going to get trapped. So I expect a short squeeze. So I expect the price to do something like this, come all the way down here, perhaps even tap that low volume area here, and then sort of rally. Okay, so of course then the rally, we've still got plenty of resistance, which is these key levels that we've lost, right? We've got a low volume area here, which as confluence with the value area low of this year's standard deviation. Okay, and we've got the previous year's VWAP close, which is around about 4,200. Okay, so even if there's a short squeeze, it might get stopped around about this area. Okay, but who knows, right? It could have a massive rally like this, right? So if it finds acceptance above here, then I think that it's a matter of time until he goes and tests that level there again. Okay, so at least this level here. All right, so that's the outlook. The narrative that I'm basically trying to tell you is that everybody is already short. Everybody's pricing in a catastrophic, because of that monthly candle that I showed you. Everybody's pricing in, there's a lot of fear in the market. They're pricing in a catastrophic outcome of that Federal Reserve meeting. So inevitably, if they come out and say, actually, no, we're not going to go with 75 basis points. We're going to stick to the announced 50 basis points. That's going to be positive and the markets will react. If they decide that in fact that was too aggressive and that they're going to make it even less aggressive and then make it to 25 basis points to start with, then of course this is going to rally a lot, right? Of course they could come out and say, actually guys, 50 basis points is not really going to be enough. We need to hike the interest rates to 75. Well, the market's already priced that in my opinion, okay? So I think that this level here is key and it should act as support, all right? Saying that, if this level is lost, this area here is lost, I do think that we go and test these levels down here, okay, which is basically the edge of this high volume cluster, right? Well, in fact, it's this little sorry, let me just try that again, okay? This lower level here is the edge of the high volume cluster, and then we've got a little low volume node in between here, around about 3,900, which is also 2021's value area low. Okay, so it is possible that if they come out really aggressive, okay, and they're reducing the balance sheet and they're not putting the printer on or anything like that, then it is possible that we come all the way down here. But in my personal opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, in my personal opinion, I think that we kind of like, maybe even if we come all the way down here, we kind of start sort of consolidating, maybe a little spike to the downside to trap all the breakout traders and then short squeeze. That's my personal opinion, and that's what I'm seeing right now on the S&P. If I was to look at this on different time frames, like I usually do with Bitcoin, okay, you can see that level there. I'm going to put that one there as well. And I'm going to put another one down here. Okay, so those are the levels down there. As you can see, they've been kind of put on every time frame. Okay, so on the top there is the daily chart on the top left, like I said, right? If we look here at the top right, you can see that some of these levels, especially this one down here, has confluence with the previous quarterly VWAP value area high as well. Okay, so we are currently testing this value area low here. This is basically where we bounced previously, as you can see here, right? We bounced previously on this value area low of the previous of June's 2021 value area low, or the June close actually. So should I say it's actually April's quarter, right? So it's this whole quarter. That's the value area low, and that's where we bounced. We bounced there a couple of times also on that close there, on the VWAP close, and now we're back here again. So in my personal opinion, I think we've got a little bit more to go within this low volume node, and then we should rally from there. If not, then I think that we go back to this level here, and perhaps even this level here, which has confluence right about with that line that I was highlighting here with this low volume area there. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Here on the monthly chart, sorry, it's the 4-hour chart actually, but it's the monthly VWAP. We've lost key level after key level, just like in Bitcoin. Okay, so here we got stopped with the value area high of the month. Okay, and then we completely lost and traveled the whole route of this value area here of the previous month. Okay, with the month of March, right? We traveled all the way to the end. We tried to reclaim it, we couldn't do it, and we've lost that level again. So for me, the S&P has to kind of rally above here if it is to have a chance to come to these levels yet again. All right, but like I said, it is possible that we come all the way down here, wick, and then short squeeze above that, right? And then that becomes your level of support. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, so you guys are probably waiting for the technical analysis update on Bitcoin, not on the S&P, but I just want to show you this because, like I said, there's such close correlation there that it's really silly not to pay attention to what's happening on the S&P, right? So like I said, we're almost at support. We're very close there, and I do think that at this level here, I mean, we're just a few percent, 2% away, if you like, and I think at this level here we have a nice bounce. So that's what I'm seeing on the S&P. Let's move on to Bitcoin. And again, that monthly close candle is looking really, really ugly. If I look here on the Bybit chart, got a few levels there that I've highlighted, specifically the weekly and monthly levels, right? And you can see that we're bouncing on a weekly here. We lost that previous monthly, but we just reclaimed it as well, and we've not tested these levels down here, right? So if I put the weekly chart on, you can see that clearly as well, that we tapped this level here, which is basically a weekly and monthly levels together, right? We tapped that and we've reclaimed that monthly level. Okay, so now we're kind of back inside of this standard deviation. Okay, so the value area low. Okay, so let me just put this back on to Coinbase. Right, so on the top left hand corner I've got the daily chart, and that's the yearly VWAP. On the top right hand corner I've got a 12-hour chart with the quarterly VWAP. On the bottom right I've got the monthly VWAP on a 4-hour chart. Okay, and here on the bottom left I've got a 30-minute chart with a weekly VWAP. Okay, so let's start with the higher time frames. You can see the levels that we've been bouncing from. It's been the value area low, which is basically where we've been kind of rotating inside of the value area high and value area low, or if you like, the standard deviations of this year's VWAP, right? So that's basically this squiggly line that you can see. We have not grabbed yet this area down here, which is basically the value area low of 2021. Okay, so this is where the 2021 closed, and that was the value area low, and we haven't tapped that yet. Okay, this is the price that I'm looking for. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little line there. I'm going to put that as green because I'm interested in buying at that level. Okay, also we have bounced here on the lower standard deviation of the value area low of the current year, so the developing value area low. Right, so above us in terms of resistance, what we've got a low volume area here, right, and we've also got the yearly VWAP, which I'll put in orange. All right, and then of course above that we've got the value area high, of the developing value area high of the current year, and I'll put that as red. Okay, and I'll put another red level here, which is basically the 2021 VWAP close, or the yearly open if you like, which is around about 45,500. Okay, so you can see that in big, make that as a big chart, and you can see that now, and you can see that all these lines correspond to those technical levels that I've just showed you. Okay, right, so basically what am I seeing? I want to see the price come all the way to this level down here in order for me to be a buyer. All right, so that's basically what I'm hoping for, right? A little tap of these lows down here, which is possible with the volatility coming on Wednesday, right? However, I could be completely wrong, and for me, the line in the sand is, well, the line in the sand is way up here for the bulls, really, but the first sign that we're going to have bullish price action is a reclaim of the yearly VWAP, okay, of the current year's VWAP, which basically means coming all the way up here, confirming this as support, and then going higher. Okay, so then I think that the yearly VWAP will become strong support, and I think at this stage I'll be looking for longs, and I'll be targeting these levels up here, right? That's what I'm seeing right now. Okay, so that's on the higher time frames, like I said. And I'm back at looking at the top left hand corner there. So as you can see, these levels were marked on the higher time frame, but now you can see them also on the lower time frames, right? So I'm going to look here at the bottom right, and you can see those levels there marked already, right, which is the levels that I've marked on the daily chart, okay, on the top left. So I'm going to make that bigger. As you guys can see, we're kind of bouncing there on the value area low, the developing yearly VWAP. That's exactly where we bounced from, right? And the level that I'm very interested in buying at is around about 35,800, 36k, something like that. All right, so in my opinion, the price, you can see that the price got rejected here on the monthly view app. This is the monthly view app up here. We got rejected. We failed to get acceptance back inside of the value area low of the current month and the previous month, and we ended up bouncing exactly on the February value area low, which is this level here, right? And if you look over to your right, that's exactly where we bounced here. But for me, that's not enough confluence, okay? So what I want to see really is the price come down to here. How could I be, where will I be wrong? Well, for me, the first indication is not just a reclaim of the 2022 VWAP at 41K. For me, is a rally back inside of this value area. This is the monthly VWAP, right? I know there's a new one developing here, but we've got the previous 2 months value area lows converging around about this level here. Okay, so if I was to put a line there, right, what I want to see the price of Bitcoin go up in there, right, and then come and confirm this as support for the previous range, and that will be an entry for a long, in my opinion, and I'll be targeting this level here around about $41,000. Okay, we'll probably get capped a little bit higher at the monthly VWAP again, but for me that's the first sort of like level of interest, 41K. Okay, of course if we can reclaim 41K and in fact reclaim this monthly VWAP, then again the same applies. We want to see something like this, we want to be a reclaim, get back above, and then we could come and target 44 and 45K, which is these levels above. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you know, we trade level to level, right? So for me, the first thing I want to see is basically acceptance back inside the value area of this month's and last month's. Okay, so of April and March, right? So which is basically this area here, around about 39,350. Okay, so again, reclaim that, and I think this is a long position, at least for a scalp, at least to go to 41K, potentially 45K. All right, if we get rejected there, then I think that's a good entry for a short. Okay, if we get rejected there and back inside of the range, that's a good entry for a short. I'll probably enter here on confirmation, and I'll be targeting first this level here and then this level down here, 35,800. Okay, I hope that is clear for you guys. I didn't even check that the live streaming is working, that the sound is working and the video is working, but I think it is. So yeah, it's all working. Great. So I hope that is clear, and this is really sort of like in an intraday time frame, 39,300 is essential. Okay, we need to break above that and reclaim if we've got any chance of going to 41K. So you can see this is a high volume cluster here, right? So even if we reclaim that, then I think we've got a very good chance to come to the other side of it, which is basically around about here, which is resistance. All right, so that's what I'm seeing right now on Bitcoin. All right, so worth noting as well, actually, let me just make that a little bit bigger again on the 4-hour chart. Okay, worth noting is a clear so bear with me a second whilst I draw this. Okay, and I'll put here a rectangle as well so you guys highlight that. Right, so I'm looking at this value area low here, basically. So it's where we've bounced from 3 times before, right? Okay, so this is actually the February value area low, right, of the close. And what I'm seeing here in terms of price action, this is quite important, and it could be the beginning of something. I'm seeing something interesting, which is 1 tap, raid of the lows, and a 3rd tap. Right, so there's 3 taps with a raid of those stops, right, and then a rally up. Okay, so the 3 tap clutch usually is significant in terms of price action. So again, if this is indeed a good setup, then I think we've got a very good chance to going to 45K, well, 41K to start with and 45K. But again, like I said, this level here is key, right? So for this to be a decent setup, for us to not get rejected here, again, like I said, we want to be reclaiming that level there. And then start curling up so that we can target these levels up here. Okay, just bear with me just a second. So that's what I'm seeing on a sort of on the higher time frames here on Bitcoin. And for me, it's continuation, right? There's nothing's changed really in terms of dynamics. The only thing that has changed really is the fact that we are closer now to the first standard, to the FOMC meeting, and we've got a little 3-tap clutch here, right? 1, 2, and 3. And we've tapped the weekly VWAP. That's the only thing, right? We're being capped down by that weekly VWAP right now. Reclaiming that has also confluence. This is another thing, right? So let me just highlight that. I'm going to put that as a big sort of, I'm going to make that a little bit thicker, right? So you can see here what I'm doing is I'm looking at the 30-minute chart and I'm looking at the previous week's VWAP, right? Which is close here. So I'm going to make that as bright as possible. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger like that so you guys can see, right? That's where being capped. If I look at this for confluence on the other charts and the other time frames, you can see here on the bottom right hand corner on the 4-hour chart, that's exactly where we're being capped, and you can see that it's right on the edge of that line that I'm talking about, right, on the value area low. So that's confluence. If you look at the quarterly here on the top right hand corner, you can see that it's also just right on the value area low of this quarter's value area low. We're just right on the edge of entering that. So again, that's 3 different time frames that is telling me that this level is important. So this is a key level, and it's really important that we manage to break above that. Managing to break above that would be great. Okay, if I was to delete that level just a second, okay, you can also see here on the daily chart that this is the highest of the volume nodes. Okay, no coincidence. You can see here this is a point of control, right? It's the high where most volume was traded at. Okay, so this is significant level that we need to reclaim in order to go higher. Reclaim that, and I'm quite happy to take a long position, and again targeting 41,000 and perhaps 45,000. But until then, I'm not so keen. All right. So, and again with the meetings coming on Wednesday, I'm even less keen to do that. But what I believe that will happen, which is again forming a bias from what I'm seeing on the S&P, is that the S&P is very close to support. I think Bitcoin is very close to support, especially if you look here, right? So this is again that support level that I'm looking for, right? So if the S&P does dump leading up to that meeting, right, and it just dumps a little bit and then it bounces, then this level here is the perfect candidate for that, right? And it has perfect confluence there. Okay, so yeah, that's basically sort of doing something like this, dumping all the way down here, targeting that level, and then a short squeeze of the highs, right? And then targeting 41 and 45,000 perhaps. 45 is perhaps a little bit unrealistic, but 41,000 at least for target of a short squeeze if we are indeed to tap that 35,800. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm just showing you what I will do when the time comes, okay? What I'm going to be doing. So I hope that is clear in terms of Bitcoin. Again, break above 39,500 for bullish momentum to 41. If not, if we get rejected there, then I think we're going down to 35,800, potentially a little bit lower, right? But 35,800 is a level that I'm interested in buying, okay? If we lose that level for whatever reason, okay, let me just show you here. If we lose that level, the edge of this high volume cluster, it's way down here, 31,678. You could even argue there's perhaps a little bit lower down here, okay? But you can see that this is just shocking in terms of volume, okay? So again, it's been tapped loads of times. This should act as support because it's a low volume area. Again, it's the same theory as the S&P. However, it's been tapped so many times already that I don't know if it's going to hold, right? This is crap volume, so I think the next stop for Bitcoin could be around about 26,000 or perhaps here. So this low volume node here. right? Then there's this one here, and then there's that one there of high volume clusters. But again, I'm not convinced that we're going to go there just yet. I think there's potential for a short squeeze in the works right here. It looks like we're engineering liquidity at these levels, so I'm remaining bullish at these levels. Okay, it's a bit silly to be bearish at the lows, right? So in my personal opinion, even if we come a little bit lower, this is the line in the sand, right? So 35,000 is really the line in the sand. If we go any lower than that, then yeah, fair enough, we're going to 30k and perhaps lower. All right, because then this level here will become resistance. Once we break below this, even if we come and retest it, well, that's resistance now, and we're likely to go lower. But it doesn't bear thinking about it just yet. In my personal opinion, I think we've got a while to go yet, and I think we've got plenty of room here for a short squeeze. I could be wrong, of course, so just, you know, don't trade based on what I say. This is just for educational and entertainment purposes only. So that's all I've got on Bitcoin here on the candlestick charts. Let's have a look at Exocharts. And again, nothing really much has changed. We're just going sideways here in the range. We've got a naked point of control at 35,600. Whoop-de-da, it's just basically exactly the same level that I'm looking at on the higher time frames on the candlestick charts, right? So 35,600, 35,800, something like that. Naked point of control there, okay? Above, and to cap the price, we've got 41,500. We've also got a naked point of control. So it really depends where we go first. Are we going to go up first, take that out, and then dump and continue the trend? Or are we going to go down here and then create a short squeeze, which will probably be capped at this level? If it's not capped at this level, then and we continue to go up and reclaim this level, then I think the next level will be around about 44,000, 45,000, something like that, which is basically where the next naked point of control is. This is at 45,900. It's a volume point of control, by the way, but 45,900, and we've got the value area high here at 44,000. So, you know, somewhere in between there, you can see that there's a low volume node there as well. So that's basically if we reclaim 41k. For now, we kind of remain range bound inside of the current range, but we do have targets to the downside. We've got targets to the upside. Again, much more confluence to the downside and plenty of confluence to the upside as well. Okay, so let's look at the market profile, and we start here with the monthly. Okay, so on the monthly, I've got 4 months worth of balance here. Okay, so this is the previous 4 months profiles, and if you merge them all together, this gray rectangle that you see on the background is basically where the value area is. Okay, so this at the top here will be 44,300 would be the value area high, and at the bottom down here around about 38,200 is the value area low. Okay, and basically we have tapped outside of the value area and we've reclaimed the value area low, right? So again, we've got a naked point of control around about $40,500. So again, 40,350 actually, to be precise. So again, that level there is a level to be to take into consideration, okay, for resistance. So even if we have a short squeeze, I think this one will be a tough nut to crack at first. Of course, if we do crack above that, we've got again confluence at around about $44,300, $45,000 for a target to the upside. Okay, so you can see how things line up even on the market profile on the monthly. Okay, either way, we're basically still trading inside of this range. Okay, month after month after month. It's basically, this was an inside month, this was an inside month, and so was this one. Okay, so we're basically still within this value area of the month of January. Okay, so not really much to be said there. In fact, for the year, we're very much kind of still range bound. For the daily market profile, you can see that again, we're, you know, massive range, of course, but you can look at the nuances if you like, and we've left a naked point of control here at 37,900. Okay, however, we are above the previous day's value area high, and we've got a balance area here, which is, I believe this is like a 6-day composite. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-day composite value area, right? Which basically starts at round about 39,700 and has the point of control right at top at 40,500. Okay, so basically we need to break above this in order to be able to tackle that. Simple as, okay, level to level. If we come all the way up here and then get rejected, then I think we get that lower level around about 36,000, 35,800, something like that. Okay, we've got here the naked point of control on the time-based market profile. It's actually 35,500. So do not get obsessed with like exact numbers. These are just kind of general areas of where we trade in. Okay, so for example, when we came and take this naked point of control, right, I'll just give you an example, a couple of examples here. This naked point of control got taken right to the dollar, but this one kind of overshot it for a while. Okay, and it went a few $100s above. All right, so don't get obsessed with just like significant numbers, and just this is more an approximation, right? So just kind of general areas. I think that is it for Bitcoin. I don't want to go into the footprint because that will take too long. So I think we'll move on to Ethereum USD. So moving on to Ethereum versus USD, and looking at the chart that I was showing you guys last week, you can see that basically we are rotational inside of the current year's value, right? So value area high, we've tapped, we lost the point of control, or if you like the VWAP, okay, and now we've kind of bounced here. We just moved that out of the way, bounced here exactly on the 2021 VWAP, right there, right? So that's exactly where we bounced. I did say on the previous one that this level could be a level of support, and so could this one down here, 2,634, and that's why I had this little circle here, right, just to highlight that. Okay, so if Bitcoin decides to have a little pullback to 36,000 or whatever, then I wouldn't be surprised to see these prices around about $2,600. Okay, we've also got a low volume area around about $2,500, right? So this becomes, it's all, it kind of becomes a little bit confluent. But I'm going to delete these brushes. I've got a different system that I think makes a little bit more sense now, so that you guys can see in context what I'm doing, right? So again, let me just do that a second. So which areas am I looking for? So let me just do the balance thing first, right? So if you remember, let me put it on the big chart again. If you remember what I was saying, we were trying to figure out if we were going to get accepted above this level here, right, which basically is above the yearly VWAP. Okay, it's a new balance area as well, or if we're going to get acceptance below, which is basically in the green area, right? Acceptance above means we target 3,600. Accepted below means that we could potentially target $2,000. All right, so what remains to be seen, right? So we just have to kind of wait and see what happens. But at the moment, all we're doing right now is just kind of rotating from one side to the other. Okay, we got rejected at the top there, right? Got rejected at the top, came all the way down to the previous year's VWAP. We got rejected back again, back above, and we're kind of still in an imbalanced state. We're kind of still in the middle of these two balance areas. So which way is it going to go, right? So again, let's just try and do this on the 12-hour and the 4-hour chart, right? So I'm going to take this balance area off. In fact, I'm going to leave it. That's fine. I'm going to leave it. It's just going to be a little bit messy for a little while. But I'm going to do the same what I did with Bitcoin, right? So I'm going to put a little line there. I'm going to put that as a normal line. I'm going to put that as orange. All right. I'm going to put this one above here as red, resistance, and lines of support. I'm going to put one down here. In fact, I'm going to make that blue for now. Right, and I'm going to put another one down here as green. Although I've got a low volume node there as well. So I'm going to put another line down here as a low volume area. Okay. Now you can see, I can already see confluence here, right? So let me just take the balance off, right? Just prepare the chart, and as you can see, now I've got confluence on this lower line here, right? So I've got the quarterly value area low of the previous quarter in confluence with this level down here, 2,500. All right, so 2,500 looks a little bit too low here on the 4-hour chart, but on the 12-hour and on the daily, it makes complete sense. I've also got another line down there, but I don't think we're going to go and see that. So for now, as you can see, we've got this level here that should act as support, and is the quarterly value area low around about $2,500. Okay. Also here on the monthly, when I look at the higher time frame on the shorter time frames, you can see that we've kind of been rejected from the previous month's VWAP, and we are kind of like just seeing we've not quite got to the bottom yet, and I've got this level here around about $2,600 that could also be support. At the moment, we've just bounced on this one here, $2,700. Okay, but this one here is an important one, as you can see, and that's why I've put, you can see here, monthly value area low for the whole of the month of March, right? And I've put here this line. So what does that look like on the 12-hour? Well, it's way down here, right? 2,700. Okay, but we've got another level down here as well, right? So basically in between these two levels here is where I think we will go if Bitcoin decides to have a little dump to the downside to $36,000. Okay, what's the invalidation of that? Well, for me, the invalidation is us breaking, let's have a look at the 4-hour chart, it's us breaking above this level here, right? 2,969. Okay, if the price was to do this, something like this, right, then I think we've got a very strong chance to go a little bit higher to at least $3,300. Okay, if we do see that short squeeze. And what would that look like? That level has confluence. What would that look like on the daily? Well, the level has confluence with the current year's VWAP, which is right about there. Okay, and we'll be targeting that level there. Does that make sense? Right, so let's just put this. We're looking at the bottom right here, okay, and you're looking at the top left, right? So let me just delete all these brush marks. Okay, so levels of interest for me is this one here, okay, and also this yellow level here. Okay, as you can see here, the yellow level is basically above the previous month's VWAP close, and it's getting inside of the value area of the current month, right? So if we are to come all the way up here and confirm, break above it and confirm that this is indeed support, you can see how the magic happens on all charts, and you can see that this is drawing on every single chart. Okay, and I'll be targeting this level up here, right? And you can see that here as well, and that's basically a rotation inside of the current year's value area, right? So you can see basically why I use these charts like this divided is basically because I want to see confluence in between levels, right? Confluence in between key areas of interest, right? So basically the current month's value area low has perfect confluence with the current year's VWAP, right? So that's, for me, that's a key level, right? And hence why I do it this way. All right, so if I was to put the balance patterns thing back on, it has perfect confluence again with those value areas, with the volume areas, these orange marks, right? So basically break above $2,960, and I think we've got a very good chance to go into $3,300 and potentially even $3,500, $3,600 level. Okay, if we get rejected here and we find acceptance below, then the ultimate target is this one, but I think that we might find some strong support round about $2,500 and $2,600. Does that make sense? I hope it does. All right, I don't want to make it too long-winded. It's already been 45 minutes, but I just wanted to sort of run you through this. Of course, this is all dependent on what Bitcoin's going to do. As we know, it doesn't matter how bullish Ethereum looks. If Bitcoin decides to have a dump, everything gets dragged down with it. So make of that what you will. All right, so that's Ethereum USD. Let's have a look at Exocharts and see if we spot any confluence here. Just gonna reset that. So now we're looking at Ethereum USD on the daily chart. And you can see we came very close to this naked point of control at 2,677, but we didn't take it. Okay, so that remains a level, and we've also got 2,540, which again has confluence with those levels that I was just pointing out for downside price action. Okay, if we are to go up, like I said, this level here remains resistance because obviously it's a low volume area as well, and then we've got 2,980, another low volume area, but we do have a naked point of control at $3,000, 3,001 to be precise. Okay, so $3,000 is a naked point of control that could act as resistance, and then we've also got 3,100 as the next point of control, followed by 3,200, 3,000, 3,100, 3,200, and then here we've got 3,450 as potential targets to the upside. Targets for the downside, well, we've got that, like I said, 2,679 or $2,700. We've also got $2,550. And all the way down here 2,240, but I mean it's not bearing thinking. It doesn't pay thinking about that right now. Okay, the truth of the matter is that we're kind of like in between this low volume area and this low volume area, so we're just kind of ranging sideways until one of them breaks. All right, so that's what I'm seeing on the volume profile. If I look at the market profile, it's very strange that we came all the way down here and we didn't take these naked points of control, but you know, it is what it is. And like I said, you can do all the TA you want on Ethereum and altcoins. If Bitcoin decides to go up, it will drag everything up with it. If it decides to go down, it will drag everything up with it as well. So, you know, these assets are not as technical as Bitcoin, okay? Saying that, we did bounce on the value area high here. That's basically where we bounced there, okay? So the value area high of this profile with the naked point of control, right? So the naked point of control, like I said, remains at around about $2,700. The value area high acted as support, and so we rallied, okay? So we're going up until 3,000 and 3,100, okay? At these levels here, I'd be careful, maybe take some profits, and then just see what happens. If acceptance above it would be great, but there's no guarantee of that, okay? Levels to the downside, like I said, remains 2,600, 2,500, and then 2,400 on the market profile. So again, just confluence added to what we were looking at anyway. Moving on to Ethereum versus BTC. Now, I suspect I'm going to have to take some of these update some of these levels, so just bear with me a second because I haven't touched this yet. And before I do, actually, what I might do is I might just analyze the levels that I left on there, and it does look like we've lost this level here of support. Okay, so I'm going to put that as orange because that was supposed to be where we were going to consolidate, and we did kind of like bounce there and then kind of went back up again. But you know, if I was to take all of that off and leave literally just hide the drawings, right? If I leave just a VWAP, you can see that the price kind of at first kind of acted as support on the value area high, and once we kind of fell back inside, we tested the value area high, and now we got rejected. Okay, so it does look like Ethereum could have a little bit of trouble to try and get back up here again. All right, so but that's basically what it needs to happen. We need to get back above this level here in order to go to the next levels. At the moment, it does look like we want to go down, so the next logical level of support is this area here, right? And the reason for that, as you can see here, is that we've got the previous 2021 value area high, we've got the 2022 VWAP converging onto that point, right? So this level here, right, we're on about 70,000 sats. That's your next level of support, significant level of support. Of course, we could continue to just range here in the meantime and do something like this, but this is the next significant level of support, and you know, if the price gets to there, I expect that to hold pretty damn well. All right, so that's what I'm saying right now. At the moment, we will range until proven otherwise, and I'm not sure how significant this orange line will be, because at the moment it's not being respected. So in fact, I'm going to take it off. Okay, so I think that we rotate between, let me just take these brush marks off again. just to make this a little bit more simplified. Okay, so this is support, this is resistance. If we break this support, this is significant support here. Okay, so overall I think this is the range, if you like, but you could argue that there's a little midpoint here that could cause a little bit of friction and act as support as well. Okay, break above that, the next level of the resistance will be way up here, right, which is basically where we got rejected from. If we break below that, however, I think this here should be an interesting level of support, this trend line. Okay, so you can see we've tapped it many times. I'm going to adjust that slightly actually. In fact, looking at this a little bit more objectively, I do think that this level here is a significant level of support, especially with that trend line there as well. Okay, as you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got a deviation there, but we've got 5 taps of that trend line. Okay, that's, you know, you can't get better confirmation than that. So I do think that this level here should act as significant support. All right, and this will be somewhere like this. Does that make sense? Okay, so on the higher time frames, 74,000 as resistance and 70,000 as support, and significant support at that. Okay, break above this one and this will be the next level of resistance. Alright, I don't even need to go onto the lower time frames to look at the VWAPs or anything like that. I think it's unnecessary, so I'm just going to move on to the other coins on this sort of daily chart like I usually do. Okay, so first of all, let's start with, we're going to do some alts, and we start with the DeFi coins, and we start with FODL, of course. And like I said, excuse me, like I said on the previous technical analysis update, we're kind of stuck in a range here, right? So I can just adjust that slightly like this. Tapped here many times now. Okay, we are close to all-time lows here. Are we? I believe we are on OkEx. We are. And I think that the market, even if it has a little deviation to the downside, I do think that the market has room to kind of like rotate inside of this. Okay, of course, if we lose this level here at around about 13 cents, then we'll have to start looking at 10 cents as a real possibility. Okay, but we've not seen evidence of that just yet. Okay, it's difficult to chart here on OkEx because there's not really much in the way of volume below that price, right? So we'll just have to play it by ear and just look at the big run numbers. However, if I look onto FODL versus USDC here on the daily chart, like I said to you guys on Wednesday, I think it was, when I did, sorry, no, Friday was the last technical analysis update. I did think that we were going to be sort of like rotating in between these 2 points. Nothing much has changed. This continues to be resistance. This level continues to act as support, as you can see here. It's acted as support. So hopefully that level there will hold as support, and we kind of rotate like I did here on the lower range. Okay. Of course, if we can break above it, there we go. Right, if we can break above it, then this here will be the next range. Right, if we break below it, then like I said, we're gonna have to start looking at big round numbers and potentially 10 cents. Right, but you know, you can look at 12 cents, 12.50, 11, 10 cents as a real possibility. Okay, so this is us looking at the FODL versus USDC here on SushiSwap. This big green candle that you can see here was basically on the launch and on the listing, and of course there's not much volume traded there because it was just such a massive candle. Okay, so you can see here that there is volume there, but it was just there's no previous price action to go from, hence why I'm recommending that you guys go onto the big round numbers. Moving on to FODL versus ETH. and it does look like the yellow line did not hold. Okay, so this is indeed resistance now. So let me just clean up. Okay, so the range, in my opinion, is between this level and this level here, right? Which is basically a range within a range, right? With this level here acting as intermittent support. Okay, for now this is interim support. Okay, the price should bounce there, but and kind of like rotate inside of that range. But if it goes below, this is the next level of support, and then it'll be inside of that range. What that means is that actually overall this previous level of resistance, or if you like, this level here, should act as support, and this level here should act as resistance. Okay, and so the price would do something like that. All right, but you've got some intermittent levels there, or sorry, interim levels there in between, so that you guys can sort of like make more educated decisions if you're on the lower time frames. Okay, but that's basically what I'm seeing right now. This is significant resistance, and this one has proven to be resistance now. I'm looking at this level here as support, but an interim support, potentially this level down here. So moving on to Binance Coin versus USD. So Binance, we kind of like still kind of rotating quite aggressively inside of this value area actually. So it's quite surprising that the price went all the way down there and reclaimed it so quickly. It's not really respecting my levels as much as I would like to, because this was previous resistance, but you could just argue that that's a deviation if you like. Either way, I'm tempted to move that. I'm tempted to move that level to around about here. Yeah. Okay. So let's just go with previous price action. As you can see here, the value area low of the current year's VWAP has confluence with this low volume area. So this level here is support, this level here, or perhaps even this one up here, is resistance, right? So right now, I expect the price to do something like this, in between those two levels, $375, $400, or $410. But $410 really is where that yearly VWAP is, and it should be very strong resistance. Break above that, and I think we've got a very good chance to going to 450. However, in the meantime, if we cannot get above that, I think we kind of get range bound in between $375 and $400. All right, break below that, and I think this level here should act as support as well, around about $360. Does that make sense? Moving on to BNB versus BTC. And interestingly enough, we have bounced. Yeah, this is resistance. We have bounced a couple of times there on the yearly VWAP. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right? We kind of struggled that as resistance, broke above it, confirmed this as support, but now we kind of broken below it. Is this just a deviation like we've seen here so many times? Right? If it is, then I think the next level will be all the way up here. Right? If it's not, then I think we've got a very strong chance to coming to this level here, and maybe even as low as that one down there. All right? So, do you see where I'm targeting this level here? Okay, so let's just delete some of these squiggles. For the time being, the range should be between this level here and potentially this level here or this one. All right, so just levels within levels, if you like. All right, break above that, then I think this level here is very strong resistance, and if we break below this one here, then this level here is very strong support, okay, including this one here. But you can see where the price has bounced there a couple of times, and it bounced on the previous, just bear with me a second, bounced on the previous 2021 value area high. That's where it's basically been bouncing on, right? You see that there? It's bounced in 2 times there. Okay, so you can see why I pay attention to these VWAPs. Nevertheless, as we stand right now, I think that we could see potentially a rotation back inside of this range here, right? So again, this is resistance and this is support, and I'd be taking profit around about this level because we could bounce there. All right, so that's basically what I'm saying on Binance versus Bitcoin. Binance versus Ethereum. Well, that level is indeed resistance now, and I'm going to put that as red. And that's basically, overall, this is the whole range, right? Right, as you can see here, a big high volume cluster. This is the balance area. And we're kind of just rotating inside of that balance. We got rejected here on the yearly VWAP, right? And we're back inside of the balance. So are we going to be rotating on the lower side of the balance? That's basically what I expect. This is support until proven otherwise. Right, we got rejected on the previous year's VWAP there as well, right? So if we find ourselves down here, we've got plenty of support. Okay, this is resistance until proven otherwise, and if we break above that, then this is the next level of resistance, which is basically a low volume area, as you can see here, the edge of a high volume cluster. Okay, overall you could argue that basically the range is much bigger and inside the whole thing, right? So actually you could argue that the whole range is like this. However, we got a midpoint there, hence why there's a point of control there with the most volume traded exactly on that line there. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. So for now, what I expect is the price is kind of like wanting to break that resistance. Okay, so if I was to bet on anything, is that this is resistance until proven otherwise. So I was to bet on anything, is that if Bitcoin goes up, this will rally, get above the yearly VWAP, and go and tap this level here, right? If, however, Bitcoin dumps, or if this shows weakness versus Ethereum, then I do think that we kind of range low, and we go and target this level down here. Okay, at the moment it does look like it's hovering at resistance, which means that it wants to go up. AAVE versus USD. Wow, we've lost quite a few significant levels. Right, so we've got that one there is now resistance. I'm going to delete all these squiggles. As you can see, like a lot of this TA, it doesn't kind of work in the end because of what Bitcoin is doing, right? But if I ignore all of these other levels, and you can see here what basically where we're trading, look at where the price is bounced there. You get bounced on the value area low, okay? Where did it get rejected? We got rejected at the yearly VWAP. Right here we couldn't find acceptance back on the previous year's VWAP close, okay, value area low. So it's kind of like it's just cunning really, and kind of interesting to see all these levels play out. But like I said, we have lost a significant level here. This is previous support, and we've just lost that. So even if we go all the way up here, which we'll probably will, okay, this is resistance, and we'll get rejected there, and this here will be tested as support. If this doesn't hold as support, the next level of support, as you can see, is way down here, right? $112 US, $110. So 160 as resistance, 112 as support, and in the middle we've got a friction point which could also act as support if we are above, or resistance if we are below. Does that make sense? AAVE versus BTC. I'm just reading the comments on YouTube. Chel Wong Kim, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so again, another level, key level that got lost there. So I'm going to put that as red now because it should act as resistance. And I'm going to delete some of those scribbles so that we can all make sense of that. Right, so again, level of interest. I've got this level here as a level of interest, right, at the bottom of this range, okay? Another level of interest, and then here, another level of interest, all right? So if we were to just play on these kind of what do you call them, the VWAP standard deviations, right? You can see that some of them have confluence with some of the levels, right? But for now, I do think that this is a range here. So here as support and here as resistance, right? So let me just take out of those okay, so I think that we range kind of inside of this. But as you can see, there's a level in the middle that acted as support before. Previous resistance turned to support, the level didn't hold, so now that's going to be resistance as well, right? So again, the midpoint could act as friction. If we are below it, is resistance. If we are above it, should act as support. Okay, it's not been tested, so this is a high probability trade that we go all the way up here, find a rejection, and then come and test these levels down there. That's what I'm seeing right now on AAVE versus BTC. AAVE versus ETH. We're pretty much at the lows here, right? So this level is acting as support so far, which is good, right? So let's just see if it continues to do so. I mean, the drawings are already there, so there's no need for me to draw, but as you can see, this is resistance up here, this is support, right? And we just kind of range in between, right? Break above that, we go to the next level. Break below that, we go to the next level. I do expect this level here to be a significant one. As you can see here, we bounced there quite a few times. Moving on to compound versus USD. More significant levels broken. So I'm going to put that as resistance. I'm going to delete some of the scribbles so we can try and make sense out of everything. Okay, so this is definitely resistance now. In fact, I'm gonna, that's the point of control. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there, like this on the edge there. Okay. Support, resistance. This is a point of friction here, which is the value area low of the current year's VWAP, and it should act as the interim level. All right. So if we are above that, it could act as support like we saw here. If we are below it, it could act as resistance like we saw here. Okay, so if we go all the way up here, I think this is resistance and we continue lower. All right, and then it depends if we can rotate just sideways like that. Break above that, this is the next level of resistance. Break below that, and this is the next level of support. Moving on to compound versus BTC. Again, key levels keep getting broken. So it's telling me that there's a lot of weakness in the altcoin market, which is good. Everything is at support, right? You don't want to buy when it's high, you want to buy when it's low. So if Bitcoin rallies here, all these coins will rally eventually as well. So we've just lost the value area low of the current year's VWAP. However, I don't know if you guys remember this, but right here I wrote something which is trapped bears rip, right? Which is basically when we were at the lows here, right? We tapped support, and then you see this massive red candle here, which is basically a large sell volume candle into support. And what does the price do? It squeezes up, right? And liquidates them. So the ones that didn't get liquidated in the cover, where can they get out at break even? They get out here. So is it any surprise that we're seeing here strong support? This is why I've put this one as a little bit of a thicker line instead of just a normal green line, right? I've put it like that. Okay, so obviously this has offered support so far, which is basically where these bears got trapped, right? I don't know how long that will hold for. I mean, this is battered support. It's been tested many times, right? So if we lose that, the next level that we want to be looking for really and realistically is way down here, around about 200. Okay, or 200 way. Sorry, 200 sats. There's not really much else to be said. For now, this is support. This is support. And this is resistance. Okay, so kind of rotate inside of these levels here. Break above it, and I think we've got a very strong chance to rotate between these levels here. Let me just delete these scribbles, actually. Okay, so let's just make this a little bit more objective. This area here is support. Okay, this was previous support, but it was also resistance, right? So this here should act as resistance. So ideally what we're going to be doing is something like this. If we break below it, this is the next level of support because it's a big round number. If we break above it, we've got this here as a level of resistance, but we've also got the yearly VWAP there as resistance. So potentially we could be inside a target like that, but you have to remember that we've got a line going through the middle, which is basically where you should be taking profits, right there. Okay, so an interim level of resistance right there. Okay, so I'll put that there like that. Put that as red. All right, just for you guys to remember. I hope that makes sense. Moving on to Compound versus ETH. Wow, Compound showing a lot of weakness here versus Ethereum. And we lost a key level of support. So that's not good. So, as I would have said to you guys before, when we are at all-time lows and we lose a key level of support, what you need to be looking at is big round numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the price come all the way down to around about 300 way, right? And continue this kind of lower highs, lower lows kind of scenario. Yeah, at the moment there's nothing really. I mean, of course we could bounce here, right? If we reclaim this level here somehow, right? If we reclaim this level here, then the next level of resistance would be this one, but ultimately this one. In fact, spare me a second. Looking at value area, this one, all right? And then these levels here is kind of chop, right? So we could find support there. Find support there, we need to get above this VWAP. This here should be resistance as well, but if we get above it and we do a little deviation, you can see here it's previous resistance as well. So does that make sense? Range there, okay, with break above, this is the next resistance, break below, this is the next support, right? And here in the middle we've got some interim. Here in the middle we've got some interim resistance as well, as you can see in the way of this low volume node here. In fact, I'm going to adjust that slightly, right about there. Okay, previous resistance. These are just all based on volume, okay? All of these levels that you can see here are just based on volume. I'm just using the volume profile. And in fact, I'm going to adjust this level here, way down here, because that's the edge of the high volume cluster, and that's basically where we have been bouncing on so far. So I adjust that level slightly, all right? So I hope that's not too complex. BAT versus USD. So here we are on BAT, basic attention token. We did break that level of support as well. Okay, I'll put that as a orange line because it's not red and it's not green, so just to be careful there. But at the moment it hasn't even been tapped before, and this was previous support, right? I'm tempted to actually move this slightly up here to the edge of this high volume cluster there, and just have this range be slightly more like that. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing right now. Okay, so if the price does rally all the way up to here, this should be resistance. Okay, and we should rotate inside of this range here. break below it, this is the next level of support. Look at that, it's got confluence with the 2021 value area low. If we break above it, then here we've confirmed that this is indeed resistance, and so we'll be looking at this level here as the next level of resistance. Okay, you can see that there's many ranges, if you like, inside of the range. Okay, you could argue that this is a range here, and it is indeed, but you can see how sometimes you cannot rely on the range and it gets rejected. That's why I put these intermediate levels as well, because there's plenty of good trades to be had on the 4-hour chart when you look at this stuff in greater detail, right? So that's why I do these intermediate levels, so that you can, so it looks better on the 4-hour chart than on the 1-hour chart if you're trading this like this. So anyway, like I said, higher time frame levels, this level here should act as resistance, this level here should act as support for now. Okay, break above it and we're looking at the other ranges, break below it and we're looking at this next level here. BAT versus BTC, price has lost this level as well, so quite a lot of change really, and more significantly we've lost the previous year's VWAP. As you can see, that's the blue line there, right? You can see how the market, look at that, high volume candle straight down past it. Okay, we tried to get above it and we got rejected there, so this is now indeed here resistance. Okay, and in fact I'm going to change that to red, because this should be, I'm going to up a little bit slightly, this should be strong resistance. Okay, so I'm going to delete these scribbles, and this should be resistance until proven otherwise, and this here should be support. So we trade inside of this range. Break below that and this level here should act as the next level of support, so we trade inside of there. Okay, in fact what I'll do is I'll do this like that. Alright, if we break above this level here, then you can see that this acted as support before, so it's probably going to be resistance. But if we manage to break above that, then I think the next level will be level of confluence way down here. So it could be all the way up here. Okay, even though you want to pay attention to these little levels, which is basically low volume areas here and there, or low volume, or high volume clusters, if you like, high volume edges inside of the high volume clusters. So without wanting to complicate it too much, just pay attention to those lines as well. You can pause the video and take note, right? But yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. I think that we kind of rotate inside of this level, okay, if we're just going sideways. All right, break below it, we go to the next one, break above it and we go to the next one. BAT versus ETH, we're right at support here. I don't know if we're going to lose that level as well, but this is basically support, this is basically resistance. Okay, so you can see that this is becoming more and more confluent with the value area low of the current year's VWAP. Okay, so I expect this to be strong resistance indeed, right? So break above it, however, if we break it back inside of this, this will be the next level of resistance up here, right? If we break below this level, then this here will be the next level of support. Okay, for now I think we trade inside of there. Link versus USD, wow, showing incredible weakness as well, and we've lost the current. Look, see how we kind of got rejected there on the yearly VWAP, and then it was holding as support on the value area low, and then we've lost it. And even though we came in, rechecked it, we tested that and it confirmed that is resistance, so down we go, right? This level here is not acted as support. We went a little bit lower, so yeah, it's acting as resistance right now. We did try to rally, so it didn't act as support, but it's acting as resistance. So it's just a lot of weakness in the market. I'm going to leave the level as it is, but I'm going to change it to red now. Okay, so again, if we go back inside of this range, then I think we rotate inside of there between these two, right? But for the time being, it does look like we've lost this. So the next level of support is this one. All right, so I do expect the price to do this instead for now. Okay, break above it, we go inside of the blue box. Break below it, we go to the next level. All right, moving on to Link versus BTC. Same story, weakness. Okay, let me just delete all of these scribbles now. And you can see that these levels there, we were kind of ranging there. It did confirm that this was support, this was resistance, right? On a few times. Once we've fallen out of that range, this level here didn't even hold, which was the previous year's value area low. But I've got this low volume area here. It's probably more visible on the weekly. No. Let's have a look on the daily. I've got a low volume area here, low volume node if you like, that should act as support. So where do I expect the price to go now? I expect this level here, I'm going to put that as orange as an interim level, but I expect this here to act as support and this here to act as resistance. Okay, so I expect the price to rotate inside of there. That orange line there could be resistance, but it's actually, do you know what, I'm going to delete that because it's just the value area low of the previous year, and I think these coins are a lot more volatile and not as technical as Bitcoin, so those levels kind of get failed. The only thing that doesn't fail is where volume is, right? As you can see, low volume node, that's where the price kind of got rejected. This was a low volume node here, it acted as support, right? Once we broke below that, there's hardly any volume down here, right? There's very little volume in the way. There's very little volume in this way down here, right? So this is now support, and this level here should be resistance. Okay, so I expect this to act like this, to go sideways for a little while. That's on Link versus BTC. Link versus ETH. Again, if you guys been in this trade for quite some time, this is the trade of the century, right? I did say we were hovering at support, eventually it's going to break. It did break it, okay? And I did say as well that once we enter a range, let me just get the technical. Once we enter a range, this is basically a range here. You can see this is a high volume cluster, right? Once we enter a range, we're likely to visit both sides of it. Well, we're kind of well on our way to doing that. Okay, so this was an easy short. But right now, nothing much has changed since since Friday. And we've got this level here to act as support next, and I've got this level here to act as resistance next. So I think we trade inside of this area here. We continue to go down. All right, break above this one, and of course we go back to the edge of this, break below that one, and I think we go on to the next level, which is down here, and maybe even as close as that. Moving on to Uni versus USD. And wow, quite a lot of weakness there as well. So let me just delete all of these scribbles. I did expect the price to hold that very strongly as support. It did not. This is what I mean. The technical analysis can be, you can do the best TA in the world, but if Bitcoin decides to have a dump, it will do just that. Okay, so this was the edge of a high volume cluster. You can see why I put that there, right? Edge of a high volume cluster. Did the price respect it? No, it went straight inside it. Okay, so for me, this is now strong resistance, and this down here should be support. Okay, even though there is a little low volume node there, there's another one there. Okay, but this is basically how I see it. In fact, this could go all the way down here, which is a previous year's VWAP close. So let's have a closer look now. Right, so again, this here should act as resistance. Potentially this level here, it might not even get all the way up there, but this level here should act as support. So we could potentially be rotating inside of here. Okay, if we get acceptance back above, then okay, we can confirm that as support, and these would be the next level of resistance. However, the opposite is true. If we break below this one, then these here will be the next levels that we go to. Okay, and especially this one here, which is the previous year's VWAP, right? 2021 VWAP should act as support. We got rejected of the current years, but this is like a return to the mean, if you like. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the price come all the way down here to around about, what's that, $4.50, something like that. Okay, but $5 is a big round number, so we mustn't forget that. Okay, so at the moment we are below $8 as resistance, potentially $7.50, and support as $6 or $5, something like that. Break below $5, $4.50 is kind of, or $4.20 is the line in the sand, if you like. Lose that and it's a long way down to $3. Uni versus BTC. Okay, so again, guys, if we broke inside of a range, this level is now definitely resistance. Okay, so let me just delete the scribbles. We broke inside of a range, right? Like I said to you guys, this was a balance area here. We bounced from the top, bounced from the bottom, right? This is a range, and then we rallied up, and the price couldn't even get back above it, okay, on this previous range, which is a high volume cluster. So now we are below that high volume cluster. Where is it likely to be? I think we're going to visit the other side of it. So right now we're on our way to doing that. So this here should be resistance. This here will act as interim support, but ultimately this is the level of support that you want to see hold if you're a holder, basically. All right, so maybe the price will kind of rotate in between these levels here. Right, break above it, this is the next level of resistance, and it's a very significant one. You break below that, this is a very significant level of support way down here, because it's the edge of a high volume cluster. Okay, but at the moment it does look like we had a high volume blue candle there, as you can see. High volume blue candle followed by the red candle, big sell volume, followed by a big buy volume candle that could not break above resistance. Okay, so it's inevitable that the price is going to go lower, in my opinion. Uni versus ETH. Level after level broken. Okay, so this level here should be now resistance until proven otherwise. I'm going to leave that as orange. As you can see here, big sell volume into the level, right? We did try and rally back above, but we fell back below it. Okay, so let me just delete all of those scribbles. Okay, so this here is now resistance, and this level here is support. Break above that one, this is resistance. Break below this one, and oh my god, there's nothing. There is no previous price action there. So this is at all-time lows. So this is 200 way. Break below that one, and then I think you'll have to start looking at 150 way. Perhaps. Okay. But you can see that this is going to be previous support. This here is also going to be a significant level of resistance. Okay, so basically we just want to stop the bleeding now, and we want to see reclaim some of these levels. But at the moment we're still in the stage of losing levels. Okay, like I said, we are approaching support on many time frames on Bitcoin and on the S&P. So there is a possibility of a reversal this week. This is why I said this is going to be an important technical analysis update. So if that is the case and we see a reversal on Bitcoin, then I think it's time to start buying out, because when Bitcoin kind of plateaus and kind of goes like, goes up and then kind of just starts going sideways like that. If it behaves itself and just kind of ranges, then chances are that Ethereum and altcoins will start rallying. But what we want to see the impulse. We don't want to kind of go too early, but you want to see the impulse on Bitcoin, break a key level, and then rotate sideways. If that's the case, then it's time to start looking at alts, and and we should start seeing some of these alts break back into old support levels again. Okay, but at the moment we're just seeing lower highs, lower lows, and it just continues to follow the bear trend. Okay, so I hope this was it's an hour and a half long. I'll put some timestamps on this, but I hope this was useful and helpful. I hope it keeps you on the right side of the trades. Don't forget that Wednesday is going to be a volatile day. So if you're trading with leverage, then I'd suggest that you perhaps maybe go flat and not have a position just yet. But then if you see Bitcoin kind of breaking key levels, then you might want to, so for example, the volatility will do something like this, and then it comes back lower again. And, because the market makers emptied the books, right? So you don't want to be trading that because it's going to kick you out of your stops and you just rinse your account. However, after the volatility has stopped at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, or whatever, the volatility has stopped and we've managed to break above a key level like this, right? Then, of course, I'm going to go long because this was previous resistance and now we're above it, right? And I'll be targeting the next levels. The opposite is true as well. If after the volatility, we've broken down a previous level of interest. So for example, let's say we go below this level here, right? And suddenly we're below it, but we're rallying. Well, this is going to be resistance now. And I think, so I'm looking at this one here, right? If after the volatility we find ourselves below a key level, then you know that this is going to be a good entry for a short if we rally up to it, because that was a key level that we lost, right? So then I'll be targeting the next levels. Okay, so it's really quite simple. You just have to look at level to level, not get ahead of yourself too much, and just be wise and kind of careful to protect your capital at volatility times. Okay, that's the best advice I can give you guys for now. In the meantime, I'll have another TA update for you guys on Wednesday. This is going to be a fun one because it's just before the FOMC meeting. But until then, trade smart and look after yourselves. Okay, cheers. Bye bye.